One.
Hey, I'm Dr. Kelly Ferguson, Associate Professor of Magazine Media at Ohio University and Faculty Advisor to Southeast Ohio, a student-produced regional magazine.
And I'm Meri Page, Assistant Professor of Communications Design at Syracuse University.
And we're here to give, for our presentation, Bridging the Brick Divide, Graphic Design and Writing Collaboration in Undergraduate Student Magazine Production. We met at Southern Utah University in Cedar City, where for 2 years we collaborated and co-advised students on the undergraduate literary journal Collab Canyon Review. We're here to discuss how we transitioned a literary journal to an art and literary journal.
In this talk, we'll provide a brief theoretical framework for visual and written collaborations, followed by
a brief pedagogical argument for visual and written collaborations, segueing into
our story of collaborating on Collab Canyon Review before addressing
potential obstacles and practical considerations before concluding with
our final takeaways. It's not new to say written text and images can interact to create new meaning and encourage conversations between form and content. The experience of both mediums becomes more complex as the viewer becomes aware of the whole versus its individual components.
Furthermore, visual-verbal collaborations result in a changing concept of authorship, from that of someone working alone in a bunker to one of intersection, where the creators move from a concept of either or to that of both.
With respect to pedagogy, interaction between visual and verbal text improves comprehension and the ability to retain and recall information. The cycle between visual and text and back again creates a feedback loop, a recursive process, and deepens learning. It is now standard practice for rhetoric and composition courses to include visual analysis, multimodal projects, and comics theory into their syllabi.
Comics, for example, has been proven to engage diverse cognitive meaning making by asking readers to engage in multiple learning modalities such as touch, sound, and passage of time through an interplay of text and image.
There are, of course, professional benefits to diversifying the student's skill set.
Here's a screenshot of the most recent job postings in Publishers Weekly. We can see where these ask for a variety of skills that involve visual and written literacy in various combinations. A practical job outcome of a creative writing degree might be an editing or production job, yet writers don't learn InDesign, the industry standard for magazine and book design. I'm currently making all of my writing students in my magazine production course create a layout in InDesign.
Visual artists, on the other hand, need to be able to tell a story, and they might be expected to write copy.
In undergraduate creative writing programs, once freshman composition is over, visual literacy, for the most part, is put to the side while English majors go deep into their literature and creative writing coursework. The student literary journal, especially if you are fortunate enough to have a literary journal editing course, is the perfect moment to work visual literacy back into the curriculum.
Hopefully you are now convinced of these myriad benefits of written and visual communications. Now Kelly and I will discuss our particular example of working on the Collab Canyon Review.
Southern Utah University's literary journal, Collab Canyon Review, began in the aughts as a chapbook assembled. From that point, the mag evolved to a bound issue. Right before Meri and I arrived at Southern Utah, the previous literary magazine advisor had the idea to have a student designer to lay out the magazine. She then retired and left for Montana.
Kelly and I were hired, and like most first-year professors, were given the Collab Canyon Review as senior professors assured us how talented, awesome, and amazing we were. From here, we began conceptualizing a collaboration.
We solicited both writing and art for the journal.
Design students created flyers and promotional materials for each of these projects. The literary journal staff blind peer reviewed the graphic design mock-ups, eventually selecting a designer who would lay out the magazine. Design students visited the literary journal editing course to see how they selected and edited materials. The literary journal staff visited the design department to see how flyers and journals were laid out in InDesign. Design students chose the artwork for the journal, while creative writing students chose the written work. Once the respective staff had edited their submissions in either track changes or Photoshop, the editors and the designers got together, working to find images and text that spoke to one another. Instead of an art section in the middle, students layered the visual art and the text throughout.
In the layout, we strove for what Scott McCloud in Understanding Comics refers to as aspect-to-aspect transitions, which bypass time and set a wandering eye to different aspects of a place, idea, or mood.
Kelly and I then worked together to promote the Collab Canyon Review release party and reading with flyers and promotional materials such as stickers and bookmarks at the Art Museum, which was held the same day as the BFA art show.
Here, the artists and writers could all meet and collect their contributor copies.
After the first year, we learned to have the reading before the art show because the chatter disrupted the reading.
Hooray! We humbly present that our collaboration was a resounding success.
This is not to say collaboration is without its challenges. For one, artists and writers have long expressed concerns over hierarchy of signification.
Writers worry that images will limit the reader's imagination or that the image will override the word.
Meanwhile, artists are concerned that their work exists for decoration and that words diminish the sensory experience.
Students will have similar concerns over hierarchy. What's more important, the art or the writing? Students and professors have to compromise to collaborate. For instance, my creative writing students had to let go of the page count dominated by writing before to allow for the art. In the end, the magazine was 50% art and 50% creative writing.
Students may also become grousy as they are forced to move out of their comfort zones to address a weakness. Writers have to confront visual literacy, while visual artists have to confront written literacy. This is especially discomforting as they are in classes for their major where they don't think they should have to do that.
We also face institutional challenges. For one, universities generally keep creative writers and artists physically distanced. We are often in different departments, different buildings.
Planning and coordinating takes effort and time. Who has any of that?
There is the revolving door of administrators who may or may not support your endeavor.
Department politics. We worked well together, respecting what the other had to offer and following through. This might not always be the case.
Money. Who has the money? In our case, the art department technically had the money for print costs due to the previous literary magazine advisor who may or may not have allegedly blown the budget.
Fortunately, in our situation, we had a solid budget. We had the budget for professional magazine production and nice paper.
One benefit of bringing in an art department is that they might be more likely to recognize that professional printing takes money more than an English department who count Xerox copies. Do you really need 2 staples for that chapbook? However, we did reap the benefit of the English department budget for some food, promotional events, and a cash prize.
We'll end on a few final takeaways.
The experience, we believe, gave all of our students, both graphic design and writing, a better sense of audience. In the university context, students often end up creating solely for their professor or maybe their peers in their small world. But in this case, they actually created for an outside audience, not just in their major and the community.
The experience generated way more student involvement university-wide and even within Cedar City. By doubling the type of content, we doubled the number of stakeholders. The journal became a campus happening versus a course requirement. We had a huge turnout for the last reading. Instead of 50 people for the poetry reading and 50 for visiting artists, we had 300 people and standing room only.
Although both of us left Southern University for other positions, we felt good that we left this collaboration and the literary journal nicer than we found it. And I humbly submit that our undergraduate journal looks better than many, whatever, full-fledged journals. The Collab Canyon Review website also got a much-needed update, and in general, the materials looked very professional. All right, so this is us hiking at Canaraville Falls. You should definitely check that out if you can, near Cedar City. And there's more we could say, but we'll cap it here. Thanks for watching us, and email us if you have any questions. And thank you to the Creative Writing Studies Conference for this chance to share our project.